Hey everyone, it's Deb here from Deb's Greenhouse, and we've got today's top 5 plants. Today I am sharing with you 5 of one of my favorite landscape plants. Now we have this plant in 5 different varieties, and I can't say enough good things about them. We use these all the time in our landscape. Cities and towns use them by the hundreds for mass plantings, and they just withstand so much variation in weather, whether it's sunny, hot, windy, rainy, cool. They do really well once established. So we're talking about Rudbeckia. Now in the greenhouse, if you're buying bedding plants, a lot of things are sold what we call green, and that would look like this, and that means it's sold without a flower on it. So Rudbeckia typically sold green. I would say by June, these might start to bloom in the pot, but you can plant them before that time, even by mid-June sometimes before they're blooming in the pot. They aren't the earliest bloomer, but once they start, they bloom for you the entire summer long and well into fall. So these Rudbeckia are all annuals. I get that question a lot. These are annual Rudbeckia. Perennials are ones that would come back from the root. And where we live here in Alberta, we do have some perennial Rudbeckias that are hardy, and we have some in our garden, but honestly, I'm not happy with how they're doing. They're surviving, but they're not thriving. So they just don't come back really strong, and they have a very small flower. And yeah, they just seem to just not do great. Other people might have different experience. That's what we have out in the secret garden. So we love to plant these annual ones because they really have a giant flower. When I say giant, I mean like really, really big flowers, not quite as big as my face, but maybe that big. And they just look so stunning, especially in a mass group. We have done planters of these and they look good too. So this Rudbeckia is part of the Sunbeckia series, and this is called Ophelia. So I first saw the Sunbeckia series at New Blooms a couple years ago. We have new varieties here for New Blooms this coming end of June. But the Ophelia is super pretty. Giant yellow flowers with a green nose or a green cone on it. And here's a picture of how it looked last year at New Blooms. That's when I first saw it. We saw it again at a trade show in Ohio. That's the annual greenhouse conference we go to. And I got to meet the breeder a couple years ago, and he's a super cool guy. He spent 17 years breeding this series of Sunbeckia Rudbeckias with just giant flowers, major flower power. And anyway, so this is Ophelia. We have lots of these in store, and again, they're sold green. These are not a perennial. Our next variety in the Sunbeckia series is called Sarah. Now Sarah has like more of a golden yellow end of the flower with like a deep burgundy center with a brown or black nose or cone. I will show you a picture of what that looks like. This is a picture from the breeder, and it is a stunning display. So when you think of flowers for the landscape, these flowers are upward facing, so they look straight up. They are great in mass beds where you see them from a distance. It is a super show of color. And I had a flash flood one time when I had these in my garden, not this exact variety, but a Rudbeckia. And it was the only flower left in the garden that looked good. It's almost like the petals are resistant to water. They don't soak up water. It just sort of repels off of them. So no matter the weather, the flowers, not only are they long-lasting flowers, they look really, really good. They also make a really nice cut flower. So this Sunbeckia Sarah, huge flowers, beautiful color. And if you like anything in the autumn tones, Rudbeckia will really satisfy that color scheme. So the next one we have, this is a later batch. These are ones that we actually seeded. So this is what we call the Rudbeckia Secret Garden Mix. So a couple of years ago, we seeded Rudbeckias, a couple different varieties, in the secret garden. And we were lazy in the fall. We left all the plants in the garden to clean up in the springtime. And these actually dropped seed, and we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them come up by self-seeding in our garden. Now, they are an annual. So an annual is like a plant that would die through the winter and not come back the next year. They do not come back from the root, but they did self-seed. So that is just sort of a bonus. We let them self-seed, and they've done that 2 years in a row now. And we went and looked. We see some coming up in the garden already. But so we saved seed. We specifically planted them in the greenhouse to have them available for you this spring. And they're a mix of the solid yellow and then the yellow with the brown eye in them. And there is a picture I'll post up here that you can see. This is where we have them in the garden every year. I had planned to do this bed here against the boys' bunkhouse in Rudbeckia and Buenos Aires Verbena. So I just want to highlight how beautiful this Rudbeckia is planted in a mass planting. And so if we take a look, it is stunning, and it looks stunning from afar. So what we love about Rudbeckia is if it's hot or super rainy, the petals stay perfect. Now we do water this. We've had some good rainstorms, but we're making sure it's not wilting as for watering, but it is stunning. So that is one of my top 5 favorites. And yeah, they don't bloom as early when they self-seed naturally. Like, I don't think we got blooms until maybe the end of July in the garden, but we're still just so happy with how pretty it looked. You know, through August and September, even into October, they looked really good. So yeah, this is kind of our own little natural blend that happened on its own, and it's super pretty. Our next Rudbeckia is one that we haven't grown in a few years, but it kind of broke the internet last year when some pictures were circulating. This one is called Cherry Brandy, and it is this like super pretty deep auburny red with a dark nose. Again, it's going to be just as tough and strong as all of the other Rudbeckias in your garden. You can grow these in big planters. Like a planter, you could put 1 or 2 in a planter that is like a 12-inch. And if you had an 18-inch planter, you could put 3 in and they would fill nicely. You can plant things underneath them to have a really full planter. Rudbeckia aren't super aggressive. They play nice with other plants. So some things like dahlias, they don't mix really well unless it's a huge pot. With Rudbeckia, you can stuff other kinds of plants in there to add more color to your baskets. But yeah, this Cherry Brandy showstopper, here's a picture of what that would look like. And our final Rudbeckia for today's top 5 is called Rodeo Double Red. And it is going to be more of a pom-pom type of flower. Now, this is from a friend of ours named Jim Devereaux. He has a breeding company where he develops all of these super cool, unique colors. I talked about him before. He has a boutique of plants. So he kind of just creates the most beautiful things that just aren't on the market. So this, I'm super excited. I've tried ordering these the last couple years, but was not able to get them. This was the first year. So very excited to get to grow these. And I'm going to definitely put some out in the garden just to see how beautiful that double red pom-pom is on these Rudbeckia. Grow your Rudbeckia in part shade all the way to full sun. They can take the heat. They can withstand that. Even though they have a fuzzy leaf, they do just fine in the rain, in the heat, in part shade. So if you've got, again, a big planter or lots of landscape and you just want like beautiful fall tone colors, you will not be disappointed with Rudbeckia. We've had some people try them and they buy like a couple trays every year because they have, just like we do in the garden, certain spots that they just love to have it. If you're looking for curb appeal and you have a flower bed in your front yard that, you know, gets at least part shade to full sun, these will just perform and just have that mass of color from a distance. So we've seen towns and cities plant these. Here's a picture of one that was just a stunning display when we got to visit. And yeah, I'm so happy with these. If you haven't tried them before, it's worth trying and see, you know, just how great they perform and how easy. You don't have to fuss with them. Very little fertilizer required. You can snip out some of the flowers as they fade, but the flowers last a long time, so it's not a lot of maintenance. Thanks for watching today's Top 5 Plants, and we will see you in the next video.